In this free training, I'm going to share with you exactly how to grow your Instagram, especially right now with the new algorithm. Plus, we're going to dive on into some of the major changes that have happened with Instagram's algorithm in this year right now. So let's dive on in. So the first thing I want to share with you guys, by the way, my name is Rachel Peterson. I'm at the Mrs. Peterson on social media. I have like 176,000 followers on Instagram. And if you haven't been here before, I have had a love-hate relationship with Instagram for about 4 years. And sometimes it changes and sometimes it doesn't. But I'm actually going to show you some of my real stats from behind the scenes. So before 2022, I started kind of taking a break a little bit from Instagram, just to kind of like refresh and recharge and kind of step away and get some perspective. I actually talked about that on my podcast, Social Media Secrets. And we figured out a few things that have been working really, really well. I will not tell you that we have everything figured out. I don't ever want to lie. I also don't want to hyperinflate anything or make it sound like we're like securing 100,000 followers every single month. So I'm going to show you my real stats from behind the scenes. So right here, you can see some of the trickle down effect of me just kind of like being super burnt out on Instagram. This is how many uploads I have done each and every day. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this craziness behind the scenes and kind of how we're implementing that as I break down these 10 major changes to the algorithm. But you'll see here that there are a lot of days where I lose followers. And in fact, there seemed to be a pretty big purge of followers. It looked like we weren't going to actually get above break even in this year. And I was just curious to see what was going to happen. However, something started to break through for us right around here, and you'll see like there was a lot of growth, and then we had a lot of loss right on the day when I uploaded 43 reels, and then we're back to growth mode again. So we've grown by 540 followers over the last 30 days, which is pretty good because I'll just be honest, I would give the strategy I've been implementing probably a C-. But I'm going to share with you what I've learned across all of these experiments and some specific action steps that you can take today and learn from my mistakes, my burnout, and some of my periods where I've actually lost followers. So let's dive on in. But I'm super curious, what's your Instagram handle? Comment it below in the comments of this video. Number 1, Instagram is looking at interaction with content. Now this is really interesting because Instagram is showing your content to the people who have either reacted to or engaged with your content before on Instagram, or they're going to show it to the people who are most likely to interact. Believe it or not, but Instagram actually wants people to spend time on this platform and they want people to engage. So if continually you're not seeing any engagement or it's like, flat line across the board, it's a pretty good sign that it's time to test a few of these other mechanisms, but that's a helpful thing to know about the algorithm. Number 2, how much time people are spending watching and reading your content is going to factor into the overall reach of each and every piece of content. If it's higher, more people are likely to be served it by Instagram. So what's really important there is utilizing powerful hooks that pull people in from the very first line and make them say, I need to read whatever this is. And I'll give you a few tips for this. Number 1, we've actually been using Jarvis or Jasper, and I'll link to it in the comments beneath this. I am affiliated with Jasper, but you can check it out and get your first 10,000 words for free. Just use them wisely because they go fast. So what's interesting is the hook of your video is really, really important. The hook of your posts, the caption that you have are really important. And also if you're going to do carousels, you actually want to make sure that the very first slide in your carousel makes people say, whatever this is, I need to spend time watching this. This is going to be worthwhile. So in the past, I feel like, we would see all these selfies or professional photos and double tap and scroll, double tap and scroll. But now we need to prioritize something that most marketers and business owners have actually gotten away from, and that is the power of copywriting. Number 3, engagement, likes, comments, saves, and people who go through to your profile. They tap on your profile. All of these are going to increase content distribution. One of the ways that I like to actually increase overall engagement and time spent on a post is to ask people questions. It sounds really simple, but if you make a list of books that you recommend people read, ask them, what other books would you add to this list? Or ask them a question about, have you read any of the books I recommend? Start actually building relationship in order to increase engagement. Nobody likes talking to a wall. Number 4, consistency. Now this one takes a little bit to see the benefit of, so I will just straight up be honest. I am seeing none of the benefits of consistency because I've not been consistent on Instagram. In fact, I took at least a month off of Instagram. But what Instagram needs to know is that you're consistent and relevant and reliable before they're gonna ramp up how many people you reach. And this is really interesting because just like if you were to, let's say, have a favorite recommendation for a hairstylist, you wouldn't want to be like, oh, this hairstylist is always out sick. You wouldn't want to recommend your friends to that hairstylist. Similarly, Instagram doesn't want to recommend accounts that are only posting sometimes, then disappearing. So I actually am inspired to get better at this one. What I recommend is going for like one a day, Monday through Friday, so that you don't completely burn out. Number 5, what kind of content do they connect with? Now, this is interesting. More and more people are getting really conditioned to appreciate short form video content. So what kind of content people engage with and watch, or what they connect with, they're gonna show them. So Instagram is gonna show video watchers video. So if you have anything that's visual, or you wanna tap into the parasocial relationship, or you wanna build amazing relationships with your audience, or you have a YouTube that you wanna build at some point, you're gonna wanna actually get onto video with IG Reels so that your video content is served in front of an audience that loves video. See what I did there? Number 6, photos seem to be majorly deprioritized, as IG stated last year. We have noticed that IG Reels are reigning supreme. Now, if we look at my stats, you'll see that I've been doing this thing where I dump or flood a platform. I'm not actually gonna say that's a best practice. That's more of just like you know what, I just ran out of time at some point, and I'm just like, end of the day, gonna post a bunch of IG Reels and then disappear after I engage with the early squad. So what's interesting is you actually want to focus more on IG Reels almost across the board. I recommend almost everybody focus more on IG Reels than on static photos, unless, of course, you have a carousel of photos and or a carousel of information, quotes, graphics that make people say like, I need to take my friends in this, I want to save this, they spend time reading the caption, etc. So I am going to say that this is not a best practice to just flood the algorithm. I just do that sometimes as like a time-saving mechanism. Number 7, now this is an interesting one, and everyone who already clicked away, I feel bad because they're going to miss this, but that's fine, it's for you. So number 7 is the actual data about the content. That means that Instagram is actually scanning what's in your background. So for example, me having a YouTube play button, they may or may not scan that and show that in front of people who appreciate YouTube or are YouTube creators. Having books in my background, Instagram actually senses that and says, I'm gonna serve this content to people who are likely to read books, which is actually pretty wild if you ask me. So you wanna be intentional with what is in the backgrounds of your videos, as well as what you're holding. If I'm holding a coffee mug, people who drink a lot of coffee are more likely to see it. And yes, the algorithm and the AI has gotten so specific that they can tell not only what's in the foreground of your photo or video, but also in the background. It's kind of creepy, but it's also kind of cool. Number 8, and this is a big one because I know you're probably thinking, Rachel, you haven't said anything about hashtags. What's interesting is Instagram is really relying a lot less on hashtags than they have in the past. One thing we have noticed that seems to work pretty well is when they are niched, specific, and relevant to the content in that particular category. So for example, I'm not going to post a video of me with my books with a ton of hashtags about, let's say, makeup. It just doesn't make sense. It needs to be niche down, it needs to be consistent, it needs to be relevant. And then one more thing that we've discovered is that it seems that generally speaking, you want to test whether or not hashtags perform better for you in the caption or in the first comment. We're finding they're actually working pretty well in both. I personally am preferring them in the caption. And we've also discovered that so far, 5 to 7 hashtags, 11 hashtags, 15 hashtags have not outperformed 30. So I recommend doing some tests there. Number 9, Instagram likes to see that you actually reply to comments, like messages, reply to messages, because what that tells Instagram is that you are invested into the time of your followers and actually building a relationship. And believe it or not, they actually count that into your engagement rate score. So every time that you get a comment, you have the ability to build a relationship and also increase the amount of time that people are spending hanging out on your content. So it's pretty simple. Of course, you do get to a point where you can't respond to all the comments, but at least respond to your early squad so that Instagram says, hey, this isn't someone who just posts and goes. And number 10, test which content mediums work best for you. Here's a big hint. If you haven't yet done so, try IG Reels. This is the sign you have been looking for. Check out the free resources in my bio beneath this video. I'll catch you next time. Bye, guys.